Hello friends, I'm Dr. Vivek, and today I'm going to discuss about feminism, very important literary theory that is every student of literature, not only the literature student, but every student or scholar or a person should know about feminism. Women, especially, should understand all about the history and what's all about, who are the important writers, and what are the different phases, how it developed. That brief history we are going to deal with. Let's begin. Feminism has its beginning in the women's movement in 1960s. Basically, though some writers give you a different beginning, but um I took as I regarded as first movement means prominent works and important beginning, you can say, on the feminism in 1960s. It was simply a renewal of old tradition of thought and action which had diagnosed the problem of women inequality in the society. Basically, it is inequality. Why we need to come with this theory of feminism? Because there was inequality. There is not given equal rights in the society to women. So this came out with this result. Mary Wollstonecraft, in her book Vindication of the Rights of Women, that is a very prominent seminal book that we should know about it. That was written in 1792 by Mary Wollstonecraft. Discusses male writers like Milton, Pope, Rousseau, and there is a book of Oliver Schneger's a Women and Labor 1911, Virginia Woolf's A Room of One's Own 1929. So these are the very important books we should keep in mind. Either it's a vindication of rights of women or Oliver Schneger's Women and Labor, Virginia Woolf's Room of One's Own, and dates are also, years are also important. So you should know about there's just names and the writer's name. Those books vividly portrays the unequal treatment given to women seeking education and alternative to marriage and motherhood. That was not equal treatment. It was unequal treatment was given to women. These books talks about these unequal treatment given to women in terms of education, in terms of marriage, in terms of motherhood. That was unequal treatment. That means due rights not were not given, equality was not there. So that she deserves, the women deserves what is what not given. So that was so in these books. In these books, the women writers were talking about Simone de Beauvoir's, the French writer. The Second Sex, 1949, has an important section on the portrayal of women in the novels of D.H. Lawrence, J.S. Mills, Subjugation of Women, 1869, Frederick Engels, The Origin of the Family, 1884. So again, these books are talking about Simone de Beauvoir, especially was talking about one is not uh, it was one is not born with women, but it creates women. That's some sort of they are very important lines of the Simone de Beauvoir's. These were you have to keep in mind these important writers. The feminist criticism of today is the direct product of women's movement of 1960s. This movement was literary from the start in the sense of women projected by literature and saw it as necessary to combat their authority incoherence. So, through these writings, women are coming out with their ideas, with with their subjugation, with their feelings, with their atrocities. So this pain they are reflecting in these books, and it began with from means majorly it was began in 1960s. The feminist criticism of 1970s, the major effort went into exposing what might be called the mechanism of patriarchy. Now, uh, the patriarchy was also one of the reasons of not getting the equal rights among society. So they were talking about the patriarchy. They started in 1970s. They are talking about the mechanism of patriarchy. Critical attention was given to the books by the male writers, which influential or typical image of women were created. Means they were given they were talking about, the women writers are talking about, there's some books which were written by male writers, and how the women was created in the books of male writers. They were reflecting, they were coming out with those ideas, with those traits in the books written by the male writers. So they are protesting somewhere, they are going in the protest. In 1980s, the mood of feminism changed. Firstly, it became much more eclectic, open to take. This means it began to draw upon the findings and approaches of other kinds of criticism, such as Marxism, structuralism. So one in 1980s there is a major change. Some changes are coming. You see the changes 1960s and 70s and 80s, 60s. They were coming out with the writings, and 70s they are protesting. They are what the male has written about them. They are. They are observing, and now in the 80s they are more eclectic. They are taking some traits, they are reading exhaustively and taking some criticism. They are paying attention to Marxism, other theories like structuralism. Secondly, it switched its focus from attacking the male versions of the world to the nature of female world and outlook. Now the attacking on the male versions, what they created about women, the male has created the image of women in the writings. They are coming with that protest. Thirdly, the attention was switched to the need to construct the new canons of women's writing, such a way that neglected women writers were given a new prominence. Now they were creating their own canons. Earlier, the canons were the male writers. Now they were finding some canons from women itself, women writers. Among the women writers, they were finding it, and they were giving importance to those female writers who were writing, who were working on it. So that they earlier the ideals, these were the male writers only. Now there's a change coming in the 1980s, that they were giving prominence to the female writers. Ellen Showalter is one of the major prominent writers of 20th century. So this is important in this regard. So Ellen Showalter is again very important writer. She detects three phases in the history of women's writing. So it's very important, the three phases which Ellen Showalter has given. It often on it comes in the exams of NET exam or other competitive exams regarding literature. So first phase, the feminine phase. Ellen Showalter has given three phases of women development, women writings. The first phase was feminine phase. It was from 1840 to 1880. In this phase, women writers imitated dominant male artistic norms and aesthetic standards. Now, in the first phase from 1840 to 1880, the feminine phase, they were giving importance to the male writers, means dominant writers. They are imitating, they are copying, they are just imitating the male writers in this phase, first phase of feminine phase. Second phase was feminist phase. uh, Feminist phase from 1880 to 1920. The first is feminine, the second is feminist phase. In this, radical and often separatist positions were held. Now, the radical, there is a certain transformative changes coming in this phase. They are protesting, the protest is coming. They say they are more rigid uh, in the versions, in their writings. The radical change came. The separatist position were held. This was the phase of protest. Now the second phase. It's earlier they were just copying. They was imitating the male writers in the first phase, and the feminine phase, that is 1840 to 1880. From the feminist phase, they are coming in the mode of protest. They are protesting against the male writers, which they had created females in their writings. So that image they are protesting. Third phase was female phase. From 1920 onwards. This looked particularly at the female writing and female experience. This was a creative phase. From 1920 onwards, according to Ellen Showalter, the gynocriticism, he has given the term, the coined the term. And this, in their writings, they were creating their own world, they were writing about their own experiences. They were giving importance to the female writing. And this phase only, this phase which is called female phase, this phase is actually called a creative phase. So now some of the important writers of female writings. Julia Kristeva, from 1941, she was born. Helen Sixers, if the French writer, uh, born in 1937. Virginia Woolf, Room of One's Own, 1882 to 1941. And Margaret Atwood, born in 1939. Alice Walker, again French writer, born in 1944. Simone de Beauvoir, French writer, again 1908 to 1986. Aphra Behn, 1842, 1640 to 1689. Toni Morrison, 1931 to 2019. Doris Lessing, 1919 to 2013. Jane Austen, 1775 to 1817. Charlotte Bronte, Bronte sisters, Emily Bronte, Charlotte Bronte, and one more female writer. They were sisters. Charlotte Bronte, uh, 1816 to 1855. George Eliot, 1819 to 1880. These are some of the important writers, female writers, prominent female writers. They were writing about women's rights, their experiences, their outlook, and uh, they were giving prominence to them, the female itself, not giving importance to what the male has written. So they are all giving importance to the female writings itself. So this is all about feminism. I tried to give an idea, try to clear about this all this feminism all about. So that is all for today. Thanks for listening. Thanks.